The night sky over Seoul was clear and full of stars. Dr. Hae-Nul Kim sat at her desk in the city's biggest space research center. Her eyes were fixed on the computer screen in front of her. For years, she had been looking for signs of life in space. Tonight was just like any other night, or so she thought. Suddenly, a strange sound came from her computer. It was a series of beeps and clicks, unlike anything she had heard before. Hae-Nul's heart began to race. Could this be it? The thing she had been waiting for all these years. She quickly called her team. "Everyone, come here now," she shouted into the phone. Within minutes, the room was full of excited scientists. They all gathered around Hae-Nul's computer, listening to the odd sounds. "What do you think it is, Dr. Kim?" asked one of her assistants. Hae-Nul took a deep breath. I think it's a message from space. From aliens." The room fell silent. Everyone looked at each other with wide eyes. If this was true, it would change everything. For the next few hours, Hae-Nul and her team worked nonstop. They used all their knowledge and tools to try to understand the message. As the sun began to rise, Hae-Nul finally cracked the code. "I've got it," she cried out. The team gathered around her again, eager to hear what she had found. Hae-Nul's face was pale as she read out the message. "Humans of Earth, hear us. We are coming. Your planet will soon be ours. Surrender now or face destruction." The room was quiet again, but this time it was a heavy, scared silence. One of the younger scientists, Jin, spoke up. What do we do now?" Hae-Nul stood up, her face serious. "We tell the world. We need to get ready." Within hours, the news had spread across the globe. World leaders called emergency meetings. People everywhere were scared and confused. Some didn't believe it was real. Others started to panic. In Washington, D.C., the President of the United States called a meeting with her top advisors. They sat around a large table, all looking worried. "Dr. Kim, can you tell us more about this message?" the President asked. Hae-Nul was there through a video call. "The aliens call themselves the Kree," Hae-Nul explained. "From what we can tell, they're a very advanced race. They say they'll be here in 1 month." The room buzzed with worried voices. The President raised her hand for silence. "What are our options?" she asked. The Defense Secretary spoke up. "We need to prepare for war, Madam President. We should call all our allies and start building up our defenses." "But how can we fight aliens?" someone else asked. "We don't know what kind of weapons they have." The President turned back to the screen. "Dr. Kim, what do you think?" Hae-Nul took a deep breath. "I think we need to do 2 things. Yes, we should prepare to defend ourselves, but we should also try to talk to them. Maybe we can find a peaceful solution." The President nodded. "All right, we'll do both. I'll speak to the UN tomorrow. We need all countries to work together on this." As the meeting ended, Hae-Nul felt a mix of fear and excitement. She had always dreamed of finding alien life, but not like this, not with the threat of war hanging over them. Over the next few weeks, the world changed quickly. Countries that were once enemies now worked together. Scientists from all over shared their knowledge. Everyone was focused on one goal: saving Earth. Hae-Nul worked day and night, trying to learn more about the Kree. She sent more messages into space, hoping to talk with them. But the aliens didn't answer. As the day of the Kree's arrival got closer, people became more scared. Some stocked up on food and water. Others prayed. Many just tried to enjoy what they thought might be their last days on Earth. On the night before the Kree were set to arrive, Hae-Nul stood outside her lab. She looked up at the stars, wondering what tomorrow would bring. Would the aliens really attack? Or was there still hope for peace? Whatever happened, she knew one thing for sure: humans wouldn't go down without a fight. They had faced many challenges before and had always found a way to survive. Maybe, just maybe, they could do it again. As she turned to go back inside, Haynul saw a shooting star. She made a wish, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. Tomorrow, they would face their greatest test yet. But tonight, there was still hope. The day had finally come. 1 month after Dr. Haynul Kim decoded the alien message, the sky turned dark. It wasn't a storm or an eclipse. It was something much worse. Huge ships appeared in the sky. They were bigger than anything humans had ever seen. People all over the world looked up in fear and wonder. The Kree had arrived. In Seoul, Haynul watched from her lab. Her hands shook as she typed quickly on her computer. She was trying to send one last message to the aliens. "Please," she whispered, "let's talk about this." But the Kree didn't want to talk. Their ships opened and smaller craft flew out. They headed towards major cities all around the world. In New York, Captain Ji-Soo Park of the Global Defense Force got ready for battle. She put on her flight suit and ran to her fighter jet. "This is it, team," she said to her pilots. "Let's show these aliens what humans can do." Ji-Soo's jets took off, flying towards the alien ships. They fired their weapons, but nothing seemed to work. The alien ships had strong shields. Ji-Soo frowned. This was going to be harder than they thought. Back on the ground, people ran for safety. In London, Paris, and Tokyo, alien ships landed in city centers. Strange-looking creatures came out. They were tall and had blue skin. Their eyes glowed in an eerie way. One of the aliens stepped forward in each city. In a voice that sounded like metal scraping, it said, "We are the Kree. Your planet is now ours. Surrender or be destroyed." World leaders tried to talk to the Kree. They offered peace and friendship, but the aliens didn't care. They wanted Earth, and they were ready to take it by force. The fighting started quickly. Human soldiers did their best, but their weapons were no match for the Kree's advanced technology. Cities began to fall one by one. In his secret base, Resistance leader Tao-1 watched the news with a heavy heart. He knew regular fighting wouldn't work against the Kree. "We need to think differently," he told his team. "We'll fight them in ways they won't expect." Tae-1's team began to plan. They would use the city's underground tunnels and old buildings. They would strike fast and disappear before the Kree could catch them. Meanwhile, Haynul worked non-stop in her lab. She studied every bit of information she could get about the Kree technology. "There has to be a weakness," she said to herself. "We just need to find it." Days turned into weeks. The Kree took over more and more of Earth, but humans didn't give up. In every city, in every country, people fought back however they could. Ji-Soo and her pilots kept flying, even though they lost many battles. They learned from each fight, trying to find new ways to attack the alien ships. Tae-1's resistance grew stronger. More people joined him every day. They stole Kree weapons and learned how to use them. They became a real problem for the aliens. Haynul made a big discovery. She found out that the Kree ships used a special kind of energy. If humans could disrupt this energy, maybe they could stop the aliens. But even as hope grew, things got worse. The Kree became angry at the human resistance. They started to destroy entire cities to punish people. One day, Ji-Soo's team got an emergency call. The Kree were attacking a refugee camp. Thousands of people were in danger. Ji-Soo knew it was risky, but she had to try to save them. "Let's go, team," she said. "Those people need us." As Ji-Soo flew towards the camp, she saw the huge Kree ship hovering over it. She took a deep breath and got ready for the hardest fight of her life. On the ground, Ta-1 heard about the attack too. He gathered his best fighters. "We're going to help," he said. "It's time to show the Kree what humans can really do." Back in her lab, Haynul watched all of this happening. She knew she was close to finding a way to beat the Kree. But would she find it in time? The fate of humanity hung in the balance. As night fell, the battle for Earth reached a new level. Humans were pushed to their limits, but in their darkest hour, they found strength they never knew they had. The real test was just beginning. 3 months had passed since the Kree invasion began. Earth was in bad shape. Many cities lay in ruins. Millions of people had lost their homes. Food was running low in many places. It seemed like the aliens were winning. In what was left of New York, Captain Jisoo Park stood on a broken street. Her fighter jet had been shot down last week. Now she fought on the ground with other soldiers. They were tired and hungry, but they didn't give up. "Watch out!" Jisoo shouted as a Kree ship flew overhead. Everyone ran for cover. The alien ship fired, and another building fell. Jisoo clenched her fists. How much more could they take? Far away, in his hidden base, Taiwan planned his next move. His resistance group had grown bigger. They had people in every city the Kree controlled. But it wasn't enough. They needed to do more. "We can't keep hiding and making small attacks," Taiwan told his team. "We need to think bigger." One of his fighters, a young woman named Sunhai, spoke up. "I have an idea," she said. "The Kree have a big base in the old sports stadium. If we could blow it up, it would really hurt them." Taiwan nodded. It was dangerous, but it might work. "Let's do it," he said. "Get our best people ready." Meanwhile, in her underground lab, Dr. Hae-Nul Kim worked day and night. She hadn't seen the sun in weeks, but she was close to a breakthrough. She could feel it. Come on," she muttered as she looked at her computer screen. She was studying a piece of Kree technology they had captured. If she could understand how it worked, maybe she could find a way to stop it. Suddenly, her screen lit up with new information. Hae-Nul's eyes went wide. "That's it," she shouted. She had found something important about the Kree shields. Now she just needed to figure out how to use this information. Back in New York, Jisoo and her team were in trouble. The Kree were pushing them back. They had better weapons and stronger armor. Nothing the humans did seemed to work. "Fall back," Jisoo yelled to her soldiers. They ran down the street, dodging Kree fire. As they turned a corner, they saw a group of civilians trapped by fallen buildings. Jisoo knew they should keep running, but she couldn't leave those people. "Help them," she ordered. Her team looked at her like she was crazy, but they obeyed. As they worked to free the civilians, Kree soldiers appeared at both ends of the street. Jisoo and her team were trapped. She raised her gun, ready to fight to the end. But then something unexpected happened. A loud explosion rocked the city. The Kree soldiers turned to look. Jisoo saw her chance. "Now," she shouted. Her team attacked, catching the aliens by surprise. Miles away, Taiwan watched the stadium burn. His plan had worked. The explosion had destroyed the Kree base. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to smile. "This is just the beginning," he told his cheering team. "Now we show them what we can really do." The news of the stadium attack spread quickly. All over the world, people felt a spark of hope. Maybe they weren't beaten yet. In her lab, Hae-Nul heard about the attack too. It gave her new energy. She worked faster, trying to turn her discovery into a weapon they could use. But the Kree were angry. They started to attack harder. More cities fell. More people died. The alien leader, a tall Kree named Xar, made an announcement to the world. "Humans," Xar said, his voice cold and cruel. "Your resistance is pointless. Surrender now, or we will destroy everything." To show he was serious, Xar ordered his ships to target Earth's landmarks. The Eiffel Tower in Paris fell. The Great Wall of China was blasted apart. The pyramids in Egypt crumbled. People all over the world watched in horror. Some started to lose hope. Maybe they should just give up. But others got angry. They were tired of being afraid. They were ready to fight harder. As night fell, Earth seemed darker than ever. But in hidden bases, in underground labs, and on the streets of ruined cities, humans kept fighting. They had lost a lot, but they weren't beaten yet. Tomorrow would bring new battles, new challenges, but also perhaps new hope. The war for Earth was far from over. 6 months into the Kree invasion, things looked bad for Earth. But humans are good at finding hope, even in the darkest times. And on a rainy day in what used to be Seoul, hope finally came. Taiwan and his team were hiding in an old subway tunnel. They had just finished a raid on a Kree supply depot. As they caught their breath, Sun He noticed something strange about the alien weapon they had stolen. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a small part on the gun. "It's different from the others we've seen." Taewon looked closer. She was right. This gun had a new piece on it. "We need to get this to Dr. Kim right away," he said. Meanwhile, in her underground lab, Hae-Newell was close to giving up. She had been working for months, but still couldn't find a way to beat the Kree shields. She put her head in her hands, feeling tired and sad. Just then, her computer beeped. It was a message from Taiwan. "We found something," it said. "A new Kree weapon. We're bringing it to you." Hae-Newell felt a spark of hope. Maybe this was what she needed. Hours later, Taiwan arrived with the weapon. Hae-Newell started studying it right away. As she worked, her eyes got wider and wider. "This is it," she shouted suddenly, making Taiwan jump. "This is the key." Hae-Newell explained that the new part on the gun was meant to make the Kree shields even stronger. But in doing so, it changed how the shields worked. And that change might be a weakness they could use. "If we can make a weapon that copies this frequency," she said, "we might be able to get through their shields." Taewon grinned. For the first time in months, they had real hope. But making the new weapon would take time. And the Kree weren't going to wait. In New York, Captain Ji-Soo and her team were in trouble. The Kree were pushing them back, block by block. They had better weapons, stronger armor, and more soldiers. Ji-Soo looked at her team. They were tired and hurt, but still ready to fight. "We can't let them take the city," she said. "We have to hold on." Just then, her radio crackled. It was a message from Hae-Newell. "We found a way to beat their shields," the scientist said. "But we need time to make the weapons. Can you hold out for 2 more days?" Ji-Soo looked at the Kree forces coming towards them. 2 days seemed like forever, but they had to try. "We'll do our best," she told Hae-Newell. Then she turned to her team. "Okay, everyone. We need to slow them down. Use everything we've got." For the next 2 days, Ji-Soo and her soldiers fought harder than ever. They used old tricks and made up new ones. They set traps, made fake targets, and never stopped moving. The Kree were confused. They had expected an easy win. Instead, they found humans who wouldn't give up. In her lab, Hae-Newell worked as fast as she could. She didn't sleep or eat. All that mattered was finishing the new weapon. Finally, after 2 long days, it was ready. Hae-Newell called Taiwan. "It's done," she said. "Get this to Ji-Soo as fast as you can." Taiwan and his team raced across the ruined city. They dodged Kree patrols and jumped over broken roads. Nothing was going to stop them. They found Ji-Soo and her team hiding in an old church. The soldiers looked beat up, but their eyes lit up when they saw what Taiwan had brought. "Is that it?" Ji-Soo asked. "Will it work?" Taewon nodded. "Dr. Kim says it will. Want to try it out?" Ji-Soo grinned. She took the new weapon and looked at her team. "Let's show these aliens what humans can do," she said. They walked out of the church, ready to face the Kree. A big alien ship was coming down the street, its shields glowing. Ji-Soo took a deep breath and fired the new weapon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the ship's shields flickered and died. The humans cheered. For the first time, they had a real chance to fight back. As word spread about the new weapon, hope grew all over Earth. The Kree didn't look so tough anymore. Humans stood tall, ready to take back their planet. The war was far from over. But now, at last, the tide was turning. The discovery of the Kree shield weakness changed everything. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had hope. But hope alone wasn't enough. They needed to act fast. In what was left of Washington, D.C., world leaders met to plan their next move. They all agreed. It was time to fight back. "We need to make more of these new weapons," said the U.S. President. "As many as we can, as fast as we can." Dr. Hae-Newell Kim, now a hero to many, spoke up. "I can teach others how to make them," she said. "We can set up factories all over the world." The leaders nodded. It was a good plan. But they knew the Kree wouldn't just sit and wait. Meanwhile, in New York, Captain Jisoo Park was ready for action. She and her team had been using the new weapon to push the Kree back, block by block. "We've taken back half the city," Jisoo told her soldiers. "But that's just the start. Soon, we'll push them out for good." Her team cheered. They were tired and hurt, but their spirits were high. For the first time, they felt like they could win. Across the ocean, in London, Taiwan, and his resistance fighters were causing more trouble than ever. They used the new weapons to attack Kree bases and ships. "Hit them hard and fast," Taiwan told his team. "Don't give them time to figure out what's happening." The Kree were confused and angry. They didn't understand how the humans had suddenly become so strong. In his ship high above Earth, the Kree commander Kar was furious. He shouted at his officers, demanding answers. "How are these primitive humans beating us?" he yelled. "Find out what they're doing and stop it." But it was too late. All over the world, humans were fighting back. In Paris, Rome, Tokyo, and many other cities, people rose up against the Kree. They used the new weapons, but also their own cleverness. They set traps, made fake targets, and used their knowledge of Earth to trick the aliens. In Brazil, farmers used old tractors to pull down Kree communication towers. In Egypt, people used the desert sand to clog up alien machines. In Canada, ice and snow became weapons against the Kree, who weren't used to such cold. Newell worked day and night, teaching others how to make the new weapons. Factories that once made cars or phones now made tools to fight the Kree. "Every weapon we make is another chance to save our world," Hae-Newell told the workers. They nodded, working faster and harder than ever before. Jisoo and her team kept pushing forward. They took back New York, then started helping other cities. Jisoo flew her jet again, leading attacks on Kree ships in the sky. One day, as she flew over the city, Jisoo saw something that made her heart leap. People were coming out of hiding. They were cleaning up the streets, fixing buildings, and helping each other. "We're not just fighting the Kree," Jisoo realized. "We're bringing our world back to life." Taiwan's resistance grew bigger every day. People who had been hiding joined the fight. They shared food, weapons, and hope. "Remember," Taiwan told new fighters, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone on Earth." But the Kree weren't done yet. Tsar, angry and scared, decided to do something terrible. He ordered his biggest ships to attack Earth's largest cities all at once. "If we can't have this planet," Tsar said, "then no one will." As huge Kree ships appeared over cities around the world, people looked up in fear. Had they come so far, only to lose everything now? Jisoo saw the ships coming and knew they were in big trouble. "Everyone, get ready," she shouted to her team. "This is going to be the biggest fight yet." Tae-Won and his fighters prepared for battle, knowing this could be their last stand. In her lab, Hae-Newell worked faster than ever. She had an idea for an even better weapon, but would she finish it in time? As the Kree ships got ready to attack, the whole world held its breath. The next few hours would decide the fate of Earth. Would humanity stand tall, or would the Kree finally win? The final battle was about to begin. The sky turned dark as huge Kree ships hovered over major cities around the world. This was it. The final battle for Earth had begun. In New York, Captain Jisoo Park looked up at the massive ship above her. She took a deep breath and turned to her team. "This is what we've been fighting for," she said. "Let's show them what humans can do." Her soldiers nodded, their faces serious but determined. They had come too far to give up now. Meanwhile, in London, Taiwan and his resistance fighters were getting ready for the biggest fight of their lives. Remember, he told his team, we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone on Earth. As the Kree ships started their attack, chaos erupted in cities all over the world. Buildings crumbled, streets cracked, and people ran for safety. But this time, humans were ready to fight back. Jisoo led her team in New York, using their new weapons to take down Kree soldiers and small ships. But the big ship in the sky was still a huge problem. We need to find a way to bring down that ship, Jisoo shouted over the noise of battle. Just then, her radio crackled. It was Dr. Hae-Nul Kim. Jisoo. Hae-Nul's voice was excited. I've made something new. It might be able to take down the big ships. Jisoo's heart raced. What is it? How does it work? Hae-Nul explained quickly. She had made a device that could send out a strong pulse of energy. If they could get it close enough to the big Kree ship, it might be able to shut down all its systems. But someone needs to fly it up there, Hae-Nul said. It's very dangerous. Jisoo didn't hesitate. I'll do it, she said. Get that device to me as fast as you can. While Jisoo waited for the device, the battle raged on. In London, Taiwan and his team were fighting hard. They used the city's old tunnels and buildings to surprise the Kree again and again. But the aliens were strong, and they kept coming. Taiwan saw people getting hurt, buildings falling. He knew they couldn't hold out much longer. Just when things looked darkest, Taiwan's radio buzzed. It was Jisoo. We have a plan to take down the big ships, she said. But we need to buy some time. Can you keep the Kree busy? Taiwan grinned. Keeping aliens busy is what we do best, he said. He turned to his team. Let's make some noise. All around the world, resistance fighters got the same message. In Paris, Tokyo, Rio de Janeiro, and many other cities, humans fought harder than ever. They used every trick they knew to distract the Kree. Back in New York, Jisoo got ready for her dangerous mission. Hae-Nul's new device was strapped to her jet. It didn't look like much, just a small metal box with some lights on it. But Jisoo knew it might be their only hope. Good luck, her team said as she climbed into her jet. Come back safe. Jisoo nodded, then took off. As she flew towards the huge Kree ship, she could see battles raging below. Humans fighting with everything they had. This is for Earth, Jisoo said to herself as she got closer to the alien ship. Suddenly, her jet shook. The Kree had seen her coming. They were firing at her, trying to shoot her down. Jisoo dodged and weaved, her heart pounding. She was so close, just a little further. On the ground, people looked up. They saw one small jet flying towards the massive Kree ship. Many held their breath, hoping, praying. In London, Taiwan paused in his fighting to watch. In her lab, Hae-Nul crossed her fingers. Jisoo's jet was hit. Smoke trailed behind her. But she didn't give up. With one last burst of speed, she flew right up to the Kree ship. Now, she yelled, pressing the button to activate Hae-Nul's device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, a bright pulse of energy burst out from Jisoo's jet. It hit the Kree ship, spreading over its surface like a glowing net. The huge ship's lights flickered, then went out. It started to fall. As Jisoo's damaged jet fell away, she saw other Kree ships around the world starting to fall too. Hae-Nul's device had worked better than anyone hoped. It had affected all the Kree technology. People on the ground cheered as the alien ships crashed. The Kree soldiers, without their advanced weapons, were quickly overwhelmed. As Jisoo parachuted to safety, she smiled. Against all odds, humanity had won. They had stood tall and saved their world. But the battle was over. Now came the hard part, rebuilding their broken planet. But looking at the people around her, working together and helping each other, Jisoo knew they were ready for the challenge. Earth had faced its greatest test, and humanity had passed. They had shown the universe just how strong they could be. The sun rose on a new day for Earth. The sky, once filled with alien ships, was clear and blue. The long, hard fight was over. Humanity had won. In New York, Captain Jisoo Park stood on a pile of rubble, looking out over the city. People were coming out of hiding, blinking in the sunlight. Some were crying, others laughing. Everyone looked shocked but happy. "We did it," Jisoo said softly. "We really did it." Her team gathered around her, tired but proud. They had fought hard and lost many friends, but they had saved their world. In London, Taiwan and his resistance fighters were helping people out of the underground tunnels. As they came up, people gasped at the sight of the fallen Kree ships. "Is it really over?" someone asked Taiwan. He nodded, smiling. "Yes, it's over. We won." The news spread quickly around the world. In every city, in every country, people celebrated. They hugged strangers in the street, sang songs, and cried tears of joy. But not everyone was celebrating. In her lab, Dr. Hae-Nul Kim was hard at work. She knew the fight might be over, but there was still a lot to do. "We need to understand their technology," she told her team. "It could help us rebuild faster." Hae-Nul and her scientists started studying the fallen Kree ships. They found amazing things, machines that could clean the air, heal injuries, and grow food quickly. These alien tools, once used against Earth, could now help heal it. As days passed, the world's leaders met to plan the future. They all agreed on one thing: Earth needed to stay united. "We beat the Kree because we worked together," the U.S. president said. "We need to keep doing that." They decided to form a new global government. Every country would be part of it, working together to rebuild the world. Jisoo was asked to lead a new world defense force. "We need to be ready," she told her new team. "The Kree might come back, or we might meet other aliens. We need to protect Earth." Taiwan's resistance fighters became teachers, showing others how to use Kree technology. "We learned a lot during the war," Taiwan said. "Now we can use that knowledge to make Earth better." Hae-Nul's work was changing the world too. The things she learned from Kree technology were helping to solve big problems. New machines cleaned polluted air and water. Special plants grew food in the desert. Sick people got better with alien medicine. But it wasn't just the big things that were changing. People were different too. The war had shown them how strong they could be when they worked together. Now strangers helped each other rebuild homes. People shared food and supplies. The whole world felt like one big team. One day, about a year after the war ended, Jisoo visited Hae-Nul in her lab. The scientist was excited about something. "Look at this," Hae-Nul said, pointing to a screen. "I think I've figured out how the Kree travel through space so fast. We might be able to build ships like theirs." Jisoo's eyes widened. "You mean we could go to other planets?" Hae-Nul nodded, smiling. "We could explore the whole galaxy." As they talked about the possibilities, both women felt a sense of wonder. They had faced the biggest challenge in human history and won. Now the whole universe was open to them. Outside the lab, Earth was blooming again. Cities were being rebuilt, bigger and better than before. Green parks grew where there had once been piles of rubble. People walked the streets, smiling and hopeful. In schools, children learned about the war against the Kree. They heard stories of bravery and hope. They learned that even when things seem darkest, people can do amazing things if they work together. And high above the Earth, where Kree ships had once threatened destruction, satellites now blinked peacefully. Some of them were new, the first steps towards humanity's own space fleet. The Kree had thought they would crush humans easily. Instead, humanity had stood tall. They had faced their greatest challenge and come out stronger. Now, with new knowledge and a united world, they looked to the future with hope and excitement. The stars, once so far away, now seemed to beckon. Humanity was ready for its next great adventure.